You might think those stencils and dies are just for everyday cards, but look what happens when you flip the script. I turned mine into this cozy holiday card, and I'm walking you through my exact thought process so you can make your own. Let's do some stash busting by looking at our supplies in new ways. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe on my channel, and let's get right into how I came up with this card. Step one, let's pick our colors. And this is what some people call their color story. For me, I like to get inspired, and I knew I wanted to create a holiday card from non traditional dyes. I look at all of my cardstock colors, and I really am drawn to more traditional colors like the reds. So I'm going to pull out both of the packs of red that I have here and look at them on a white surface to kind of see which one feels more like what I want to use today. I pulled out Heartbeat and Velvet. Heartbeat's a little bit brighter, Velvet's a little bit darker, and I want this card to be bright, bold, so I know that Heartbeat is the choice for me. Now, how do you pick the ink colors that you're going to use? I'm going to use these Heartbeat for the chairs in my dies, but I want to show you how I often look at all the colors of ink and pick out what I'm going to do next. Now, I always pick general color themes before I pick anything else. So I have a drawer here that has all of my Altenew mini ink cubes in it, and I'm able to look at all these colors and decide, what do I think I want to do with this red? Now, we know traditionally red and green obviously go very well together, but I'm creating a scene, and I'll show you how I pick the scene later. I know I want to create a scene, and I'm going to use some chairs in a bright red to kind of bring that holiday feel to it. So I'm going to go with some blues, and what I really like are these this nice four set up at the top. But just so you can see, I'm going to move this over and look at other colors that would be in a more monochromatic type scheme. You could also do some pinks. That would be beautiful. Oranges, yellows also look great. It's just really nice to hold your paper down by all your inks and kind of make a little bit of a chart in your mind. What feels good to you? And there's no wrong answer. But I'm going to go with these blues right here, and I'll pull those out so you can see them. Now, step two is choosing a background stencil. Now, there's lots of different stencils that could work for a scene behind here. This is waves, but it could easily be a background scene. You could do lots of different patterns. This one really looks like a sweater to me, so I thought that would be a great pattern. So what I'm sorting is the left are things that I don't want to use for a holiday card, and the right are things that I think could work for a holiday card. I end up landing on the serene landscapes, and that landscape could be any color, but we're going to go with a nice snowy scene. So this is the one that we end up with here, serene landscape, and it's got lots of different hills and trees, all kinds of things. I continue to sort, and then I'm going to go back through my pile to make sure that's what I choose. These are the top three from my stash in case you have one of these you want to use. It's Brilliant Waves, Sweater Knits, and Serene Landscapes. We're going to be using Serene Landscapes, which has lots of hills and little trees, all kinds of things you can add to your scene. So with this stencil, I've got 4 colors up here, but I'm really going to only use 3 of these and show you how using different size brushes can make all the difference. It makes it seem like you have more colors than you do. Now, we're going to be using a piece of paper as a little bit of masking and the purple tape from Altenew just to hold this down. I'm going to start with a very large brush and the darkest color, which is called Arctic Mountain. And so I'm using a big brush, which means I'm going to be able to apply this a little bit lighter. And this is one of the large blending brushes from Altenew. Today, I know you've heard me mention there is a free gift with my video, and it's one of these blending brushes with a purchase. So make sure you grab that in the pinned comment and description so that you can try these out if you haven't ever tried them. But this is a great way to stretch your stash of inks. If you don't have very many colors, just using different size blending brushes can give you very different results that makes it seem like you have tons of layering colored inks. So I get the first layer down with that large blending brush, and that just gives me some basic color. And now I'm coming in with a mini ink blending brush, which this is one of my favorite brushes from Altenew. I love these. They're really easy to hold, and I feel like they lay down a lot of color. And I'm using the exact same color, Arctic Mountain, and I'm bringing it in from the edges. Now, you can always go back to your big brush. You see how I made that real dark area? You can use a big brush and kind of smooth that out, or you can just add more ink with your dark brush over here. I decide to add more ink. This is gonna be my darkest layer. So I'm gonna show you how I finish up this layer, and we'll show you how to use just 2 other colors of the blue for the rest of this scene. Now I'm gonna speed this up a little bit because you've got the general process, but we're gonna start with the second darkest color, which is called Icy Water. I'm gonna use the large brush again, and then come in with some darker layers of the third darkest color, which is called Winter Lake. So I'm gonna bring in that small brush and add a little bit of Winter Lake around the edges just to give it some depth. Look at this reveal. Now tell me, what stencil are you thinking of when you think about a scene like this in your stash? It doesn't have to be Altenew. I'm just curious on what you're using in this way. And if you've used some scenes in your holiday card making already, make sure you put those in the comments for me. I love seeing what you're doing. Here are those beautiful trees. This looks amazing. Now we're going to add just one more color. This one's called Morning Frost, and I'm just adding a really light shade of it. I'll zoom in just to give that bottom area a little bit of depth. Last, the icing on top is this beautiful Altenew release paste. And this is just making the little stars or snowflakes in the sky, and I'm just swiping it on. It's a very mild detail, but it gives it a little bit of sparkle. Now it's time for step 3, shop your stash. So I grabbed dies that seem like they could work in this scene, and I'm going to go through a few of them just in case you have any of these and think about making these into part of your scene. I thought all of them would work great. This is a fireplace die. It actually has some little Christmas things with it. Snowflakes work for so many things. Even considering a mandala, that would be nice as just a background. It could look like an ornament. It doesn't even have to have the stencil background to it. And then I thought this jar could be really interesting to put lights in, or snowflakes, or make a shaker card, or just add some really cool greenery. This flower has a nice outline. I think it could look really amazing on a background as well as a holiday card. Of course, we went with this, the Fireside Escape dies, which are brand new for September. I'm not going to show you a whole lot of die cutting, but I did want to show you the colors that I used for this fire pit, and I do want to show you how it goes together. If you haven't used the keyhole dies, there are little cutouts that help you line them up, and that's very helpful with these cute little chairs that we're about to put together. I am going to add just a little bit of darkness to the edge with some ink. Now, you may think it's real confusing with 2 different chairs, but look at this design. I'm going to pop up an arrow. That and the other one are on each piece that goes with the chair. So you can line them up, and it helps you. This is called the keyhole design. This helps you figure out which parts go with which chair if you mix up your dies. So just FYI, that's pretty easy. I'm not going to take you through the whole layering process, but I wanted you to know that feature. And if you're wondering if that leaves a hole, there's always a piece that covers up the last hole. So this does not, even though all these pieces are connected by that shape, the last piece covers it all up, and it looks like you just magically assembled this amazing chair. Quick tip. You see me adding the acrylic block over the top of my finished die cuts. I'm using glue to put these together, so it never hurts to have that little bit of pressure to hold the glue together until it dries. The last part of the die cutting that we need is the fire, and I decided I would just color these little pieces. If you have some scrap pieces and you can make it work, do that. I'll pop up the markers that I use, but these are really small and they layer on top of each other just like every other layering die, creating a really dimensional fire that looks so nice. So I used Copic markers and just put this together real quick. So I glued these pieces together, and then I added them to the fire pit. Now it's time for step 4, adding a sentiment. And I thought, why not show you a different technique as well, just so you get the max out of this video. So we're going to be looking at these press plates. When you're picking a sentiment, it definitely helps to have something that's holiday related so that you can help your recipient understand what kind of scene you're making. So sometimes just adding the sentiment on there is so helpful. So I'm using the sentiment Seasons Greetings, and we're going to use a press plate. Now, a press plate is a lot like a stamp, but it actually presses the ink and makes a little impression in your piece of paper. So it's got a nice letterpress look. To do this, you always start with taping down your piece of paper that you're letterpressing in. Then we're going to add our sentiment to the magnetic plate below. And you can line this up, you can move it around wherever you want to. Just really look and make sure it's landing. Since it's kind of a mirror image, you need to make sure you've got it on the correct side that you want to stamp. Check this placement several times before you start inking, especially if you're new to this. The machine that I'm using is called a BetterPress system. This is from Spellbinders, and this is what you need to use with the press plates. There are some other ways you can use them, but you're going to get the best results using this machine. So if you don't have this, just think about this part in the video, picking a sentiment, stamping it, die cutting, whatever, something that fits in your scene. So it needs to be a little bit small and it needs to make sure to fit and just look proportional with the rest of the scene. I'll make sure to add a card up in the top corner if you haven't used the BetterPress before and you want some more information. I have several videos on this. So now you put the top plate on, you grab it from the bottom so you're not pressing and stamping, you run it through your die cutting machine, and voila, look at the beautiful detail. It just looks really nice. I kind of slowed it down here so you could look at that. It does a really good job at fine stamping. It's and like I said, pressing it into the cardstock. So really fun. But like I said, you can use a stamp, you could use a die, you can use whatever you have. Now we have our sentiment ready. We just need to put our scene together. And I'll give you a couple of tips on this. You want to make sure that you don't start gluing things and accidentally glue over your sentiment. So just make sure you've got it all set up correctly. What I decided to do is to glue my two chairs down and to add some foam tape to the back of the fire pit, just so that it's got even more dimension, because most of this card is somewhat flat plus the die cut. So I like adding that little bit of pop out of the fire pit. I just think it looks so cute. I'm using glue to put my die cuts down just to give myself a little bit of mobility once I put them down so that I can move it around if I need to. I usually use these lines on my mat also to make sure that my card is straight. You could use a sticky mat if you need to hold it still, but I tend to line things up with those grid mats so much, and I'll put that in the supply list so that you'll have it. Now, while I'm doing this, tell me, who are you making holiday cards for this year? Fellow card makers? Do you make them for family, coworkers, friends? I'd love to know what you're making, and I'd also love to know what dies in your stash that are a little out of the box are you going to use. I would love to hear about that and have you drop it in the comments below so that we can chat. Don't forget, this video has a free gift with purchase from Altenew. It is one of those mini blending brushes, so if you're interested in that at all, that ends at the end of the weekend. So make sure you check the description and the pinned comment for your code and get shopping with my affiliate link. As far as this goes, I'm using the Altenew foam tape. This is amazing foam tape. Highly recommend. And I'm just doing one little piece, and that is all that we'll need to hold that fire pit. I'm going to show you some final pictures, and I'll pop in with a recommended video to watch next if you're new to my channel, or if you just want to catch some more inspiration for your holiday cards. I will pop that up for you at the end. Here's the finished cozy holiday card, and all from stencils and dies that you found in your stash. I'd love to hear from you what you're going to use. Drop it in the comments for me. I love to read those and get inspired. And don't forget, Altenew has a free gift with purchase. That's that mini ink blending brush. You need to grab the code in the pinned comment or description and use my affiliate link with that. If you enjoyed this project, hit the like and subscribe so you don't miss more of my stash busting ideas. Now, click right here to see two different holiday looks with just one die. This is using an Altenew die from the past, and I think you're going to love it. Have a great day. Bye.